morning and welcome to M is For. And in this edition of The Beauty of Business, we're going to be talking about shipping, handling, and new ways of delivering makeup, cosmetics, and fragrance that are going to be coming to you. Now, as I generally do, I get very complicated about the systems behind shipping, because I know a lot of us have complaints or things that we think about as far as shipping of our cosmetics come to us, but we're going to talk about some of the ways that that's shifting, and we're going to go geeky. We're going to go deep. We are not at the green wall today because I am doing some laundry and the dryer is going and making noise. So if you hear tumbling about, that's just my laundry. All right, so let's get started. So years ago, Martha Beck did an article in O Magazine talking about some differences came up. Before she became self-help, whatever, she was teaching at Harvard, and she had some international business courses that she was teaching. And she was talking about after World War II, the Toyota company had decided to go to a type of management of their assets, of the things that they had built, the cars, to what they would call just-in-time. And this is manufacturing, on the manufacturing side, meaning that instead of making a whole bunch of things and then stockpiling them someplace and having to store them, they would make them kind of as people were wanting them, or as the orders would come in. They would make the cars and then send them out. That way they weren't having to stockpile a whole bunch of cars somewhere and just wait for them to sell. So this just-in-time sort of thinking has kind of spread to a lot of different places. Some it's like the books that you can order, online and have them bound, made, and shipped to you, and they aren't necessarily taking up space, or made to order, like my teacup today. This was a wonderful artist out of Tel Aviv, and they were wrapped so nicely when I got them, and they just had this wonderful energy, and I've just been enjoying having my tea. I got them in this color and a nice blue shade. But they were made to order, which meant that they did take a little bit longer. They weren't pre-made and just got shipped right out to me, but they were made when I ordered them. So this idea of a just-in-time manufacturing kind of took hold after World War II. The idea is that we're not going to pay for a lot of warehouse space and holding things. Now, sometimes in cosmetics, this is what happens. Like, they'll do a pre-order, and then they see how many pre-orders they have, then they make the product, and then they ship the product. So that's been going on, especially as smaller brands will do a pre-order for something. And it also gives them an idea of how much money they're going to have coming in, gives them some funds to start out with, and allows them to then make to order the amount that they need, which cuts down on the having to warehouse things places. Now, all sorts of companies have had to adjust to modern sensibilities. The idea that housing things is expensive. It also means that if certain things aren't selling, that you've got a lot of product that's not moving and it's located in a space, which can cause some sluggishness as far as supply, demand, shipping, things like that. And also the idea that people are ordering worldwide now, in different places. So different things are applying to get objects to people that didn't really apply so much before. So let's break it down real quick. Shipping and handling. Now, you always used to hear this shipping and handling. What is handling? So oftentimes if somebody breaks up your order, your amount that they're charging you, they'll have a different handling amount. Some of them will. Handling is mostly about in your warehouse or your packing station or whatever, live people at the business doing something to get your order ready. So that's kind of in that handling part. Now, all of this can break down at any point in time in this continuum. Sometimes you're going to have a slow element of shipping because of the handling. People in the warehouse have to find the things, have to pack the things, have to do the things. And then you have shipping, which is generally the cost that is going to take for them to mail in whatever form or deliver the item to you. So depending on what elements they're using for shipping, it makes a difference. If they can get certain price breaks depending on if they ship with a specific company and they have figured that out. If it's something that if it fits, it ships, meaning that's why sometimes if you order one lipstick, you'll get the same size of box as if you ship it in, you have 10 different items in the same box. Now, things that come up with shipping, there are rules for shipping of liquids and flammables, which is your perfumes. Perfumes are highly flammable because they're mostly alcohol. And so if you are shipping those, your boxes will have specific information on them to tell whoever's shipping it that there is possibly flammable, possibly liquid product in that box. And this makes less of a difference if you are shipping ground. If you are shipping by air, when you're going to have a pressurized, part of one plane or a depressurized other part of it, and you're going to be high in the air, they have to be items that can fly well. This makes it so one of the reasons that a lot of the European fragrance houses now have warehousing in the United States is because then they don't have to worry about packaging having problems with pressurization, flammable nature of things, because they're all probably sending them by ocean, sending them by barge to here, their warehousing here if they're manufactured in Europe. The other thing is too, when we talked about Chanel, we talked about the fact that sometimes they start manufacturing plants in the United States so they don't have to worry about that shipping overseas, the overseas shipping. More coffee. I'm having green tea today, FYI. Now, so we've got the idea that if something is being shipped and it's liquid and flammable, that does make a difference to the rules. It can add more expense to it, and sometimes that does make the manufacturing process change because of what it takes to ship things. It also lets you know why oftentimes you get a box of a certain size no matter what you put in it, what you've ordered. And also if you get a breakdown of things, you can see how much was the company charging for labor, basically, on their end, how much was actually having the product shipped to you. And then we have taxes. Now in the US you might get taxes per certain state. Certain cities will actually add taxes. Every once in a while you'll get a makeup order receipt that breaks it down. This is your LA tax. This is what I get from Pat McGrath usually, is like, this is your LA tax, this is your California tax, this is your generally, and depending on the state, it'll break it down for you. So it's state dependent where you're ordering something from, the tax rules that people have to take into account. So if you get tax, then the tax breakdown, some companies will just give you an amount of tax. Other companies will break it down for you as far as what taxes you are being asked to pay. And some states have weird shipping regulations where, you'll see a little blurb at the bottom of your receipt saying, if you live in this state, you're being asked to pay a specific tax to ship to this state because the state wants you to. So that sometimes will show up in it if they break down the tax. But other times they just lump shipping, handling into one category amount and then tax into another and don't break it down. But every once in a while you will see the breakdown of that. Now, foreign fees. It used to be it was harder to buy things from different parts in the world because you would have import-export taxes that you would have to figure out, and monetarily it was harder. Now a lot of the brands, when they're shipping to different countries, when they're setting up their shipping and saying, okay, we can ship to your country, they're folding into the product amount, basically the amount that it's going to cost for the sort of foreign taxes, and they're going to pay that out of that amount, so you're not paying that. So when they're figuring out how much we're gonna charge for this, and when you're ordering online, you'll see that you can change where your location is. That will not only change, am I US dollars, am I euros, am I, in the case of these guys, we were in shekels. So it automatically sets the fact that it's going to, in the brands that are making it easy for you, it'll say, okay, you're shipping to the US, this is going to convert whatever. And at a certain point in time, depending on who you're ordering from, they will have an amount that makes it okay to do free shipping worldwide. Those are the best. And then what you have to worry about after the fact is usually your debit card or your credit card will charge you a foreign transaction fee. So they will charge you a certain amount for using your card in a foreign country. So you just kind of have to be mindful of that. It's not a lot, but it's a percentage of whatever it is you're buying. And as depending on the country that you're buying it from, how that applies. But usually you pay that because your credit card is saying it's costing us something to do the conversion, which may or may not be true, but anyway, that's usually, you're going to get a foreign fee for that. If you're traveling in a foreign country, you're probably going to get a foreign use fee just for using your debit or credit card in the foreign country. If you're using a foreign ATM, you're going to get an ATM fee for that, for using a foreign ATM. And then you may be getting, whenever you use it in a store or someplace, you may be getting a conversion rate cost on that one. So that's generally why a lot of times people will just convert money to use in whatever market they're in that they're traveling in. They'll convert money and just use that, because in the end, the use, and sometimes now, like in the US, where people are not wanting to take cash anymore, which is technically legal tender, and it's illegal for them not to take cash, but there's certain places that they're trying to get a foothold in that argument, and so that's the only time where it gets to be, well, you need to have a debit or a credit card of some sort that can work in a foreign country. So then there's foreign fees. So now I've found that a lot of the brands for cosmetics are really trying to make it easy on us for that. I've really enjoyed ordering through Odin's Eye, LH Cosmetics, and I order the Charlotte Tilbury, but I believe a lot of the stuff now, you can go onto the website and see what's in the UK, but you'll click on it, you're in the US, and it'll ship differently than if you were in the UK. So, but I've had pretty good luck. I don't get any foreign fees ordering through Charlotte Tilbury, and so that leads me to believe that there is US-based warehousing. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, drinking my tea before it gets cold. Now, things change. Things always change. And especially when we're looking at worldwide, or we're looking at countrywide sorts of ideas of how we get our things. When I worked Fine Fragrances at Macy's, they had started doing this thing that if you worked in the morning, you came in, you would check this warehousing website through Macy's, and you would see that somebody had an online order and they were looking for a bottle of fragrance. And you would look in your stock and go, oh, we can fulfill that. And so you would grab that ticket, you would say, hey, that's mine. You would grab the merchandise, you would print out a receipt, and then you would leave it for somebody in the store that they were going to ship that item with that receipt. They would ship it out for you. So it was all taken care of, and that was a way for people saying, okay, a lot of people are not coming into Macy's anymore. There's a lot of online ordering, but we don't want to have a whole bunch of product moldering in the store. We want to make that useful. We want to have less warehousing just in general for keeping stuff. So we want to ship things to stores just in case people want them, but we want to fulfill these online orders. They did that for both online order, and then we would send them to our shipping people. And there was also pickup in store. So you would fulfill the order, you would have it there, and you would hold it for somebody to just pop in and get that. So during the pandemic, we had a lot of, buy online, pick up in store, pick up curbside, things like that. And then we were also fulfilling out of stores. So in essence, the individual store itself was like the warehouse. It was the holding of the things that would be shipped out to other people. So it's looking like a more decentralized model is starting to happen, saying, we don't necessarily want a central warehouse, or maybe we want one central warehouse, or we want an East Coast, West Coast warehousing, but we really are trying to take what can we do from a store level to let them use their inventory and still be very effective at processing orders. And so you have people that you're already paying their labor cost, their hourly labor cost, where the stores might not keep them as busy. You're already paying their labor costs, so you don't have to have any handling sort of fees. People are already being paid, and so they are going to do the handling of everything and then ship it out like you normally would from a warehouse. Now, the different companies are looking at different ways to get us makeup, to get us fast. The idea being that between the time when we have a desire, the time between we have a desire and when we're able to fill it needs to be super short. Because if we think about it too much, we're not going to order it because we're going to say, oh, I don't have the money, or it's not that alluring, or I can't. But if you can see it, want it, order it, have it, that shortened time is really critical to better sales, and how effective that is. So during the Sephora sale, so last year, Sephora in my neck of the woods had really been pushing same-day delivery. The fact that I could order it online, and as long as I ordered it before a certain cutoff time, I could get it that day. Now, as the beauty YouTuber, that was very alluring. Also because I like having things. I like having what I want when I want it. And there we are. But again, that whole, from the time that I desire something to the time that I receive something, you know, there's a special kind of madness and loveliness in that. So I paid a year fee, about $60, I think, to have unlimited same-day delivery for the year. Anybody can do same-day delivery if it's available. You can check on your app, and it's depending on like $6 to $8, but you can get it same day. Now, sometimes there's issues with that because this is how it's going to work. From my area in Los Angeles, I have 4 billion Sephora stores around me. There just are. There's one within just coughing distance that I can run over to. Like I could pop over at a lunch break and go to it. But for same day delivery, they are warehousing out of the Figueroa and 7th. So basically downtown, the downtown location is who's doing the warehousing of things. And how are they getting it delivered? They are partnering with like a DoorDash to get that delivered. And they have a couple of different delivery services, and sometimes things will go wrong. If you've watched I had ordered the Rare Beauty, the new lip stains that are not a lip oil. I had ordered those, and I had ordered 2 things, that and one thing besides that, and the one thing besides that was not available, and the courier that was supposed to pick it up saw that one of them had been declined and thought that the whole order had been declined, so just didn't go pick it up. So, you know, there's things that happen. But on the whole, they've been using these delivery services. During the Sephora sale, only one of my 3 packages was sent by USPS. The other 2 were small courier companies. There was one that was based out of Anaheim. Really great people, fast, courteous, blah, blah, blah. And it was great. Didn't have any problem with that. The courier service that delivered my Odin's Eye delivers because it goes to the LAX airport. They have specific like airport-based courier services, and those guys will leave it out front of your building. Like, I'm in an apartment building, they'll just leave it out front, like, you got it, didn't you? Okay, they'll send you a text, you know, that they delivered it, but if you're not home, then whatever. But so it varies. Now, while one part of me is super excited about same-day delivery and courier services as a way to manage both warehousing and the speed of delivery that I can get things, the downside, most of these things like DoorDash are non-union. If you talk about in the US, the US Postal Service has a union. The UPS, the United Parcel Services, is part of the Teamsters Union. So these guys have regulated how much you can work a person during the day. Do they have breaks? Do they have meals? Are they able to collect money for pension and so forth? Other companies like FedEx are non-union, and they spend a lot of money on non-union propaganda and so forth. So it's really clear to me how much companies don't want unions and how, they're really worried about that. Now, California has had some regulation, like dealing with Uber, that also kind of affects the DoorDash. Whether a person is an employee or whether a person is a contractor. Now, somebody who's a contractor is not guaranteed any meal breaks. They're not guaranteed breaks, restroom breaks, anything like that. Also, many times contractors money is not taken out of their paycheck for taxes sometimes, where it is you have to pay your own full tax burden at the end of the year when you're doing your taxes. Which from being a contractor, I know is really difficult, because it's really hard if somebody else is not taking that money away to try and come up with it in a lump sum at the end of the year. So contract work is rough. The upside is for people, if you're a contractor, the idea that you can pick up work when you need to and not when you can't. A lot of the actors in LA love Ubering because they can do, whenever they want, they can have an audition time. So it's an option for them that works. But the idea that slipping around unions, we've heard some pretty awful things about, say, for instance, our Amazon drivers, who now have, cameras on them all the time, and who are being checked, like where their location is, how they're doing, not having bathroom breaks, not having lunch breaks. And so for me, it's kind of like, well, that may be a problem that the delivery systems are not union regulated. They might work well for some people, but for other people, not being considered an employee can be really difficult. Because if you live your entire, career as a contract worker and you're not putting away retirement, then you have nothing, and you have no insurance, no sick pay, no nothing that's paid by the company. So in a way, while I'm celebrating the, I get my packages faster, I'm also just a little concerned about the diversified ways and the protection of the workers. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. But the thing that I realize is things are always changing. Business is always trying to help us fulfill our fantasies of loveliness. And I really appreciate some of that. I appreciate the fact that they're getting it worked out, this more just-in-time sort of manufacturing, that they're making it where we're not wasting goods. Things aren't just withering away and you have a whole bunch of product that's just sitting there that nobody wants, and you've wasted time, money, space, and all that. So in a way, I really appreciate that sort of, winnowing down of the process and the use of goods, if it's not going to be something that's going to be sold and it's just going to languish. So I like that. I like the idea that things are becoming more worldwide, that I'm more connected to places and things that I'm interested in supporting, and also products that I would like to buy that are in a world market, that it's making it easier for me in my consumption to help out, in this case, an artist in a foreign country that's making beautiful things that feel energetically lovely. I want to do that. I want to try the brands in other countries. Angelica Nyquist is always like luring me like the Pied Piper to these lovely, lovely brands, and I'm going along just happily. So it's making me feel like more of a worldwide member of a community, something that I, couldn't always say. But I feel like the progress of things, this is kind of what we're looking at. And it's just that trying to be more elegant in our way we do things. And, if we're going to be getting things faster and delivered in different ways, how do we make sure that we're protecting the people that are being employed? How are we looking at that idea of handling, and shipping of different ways of, is it both serving me and serving the person that is serving me and the company that is serving me? How can you get that win-win-win? And I feel like that elegant solution is not completely there yet, again, because You know, in some cases we have unions that are looking out for people, but in others there's nobody looking out for these people, and it's just kind of that treadmill effect. And sometimes that works for people, and sometimes it just takes advantage of people. So it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to what the future holds, as far as like, how are we going to keep having these changes? You know, what's going to happen is the way things are marketed to us, the way we buy things, the way things are delivered to us, and then hopefully the way we are be able to recycle things or compost things, or, you know, how is the packaging going to be better for me? So this system is kind of a unique loop in which there's all sorts of wins along the way. We don't have packaging that's rotting in a warehouse. We're using it. It's only being made when we need it or want it, and then we're able to recycle it, compost it, send it along in some ways where, you know, this kind of thing becomes a more perfect union, I guess. So anyway, I just found it all really fascinating, and it all stemmed from the fact that Sephora, during the Sephora sale, was trying to get me my items in a different way than they normally do. So anyway, it all made me very interested. I'll leave some links in the description box below for you, for your further edification. Hope everyone is doing well, and we shall see you in the next video. All right, have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.